What is up, YouTube? This is Alucard AFK with another MTGO game with commentary. So I'm with my buddy Decree27,
What's up, guys?
and he's playing Splinter Twin by popular request on YouTube. Hey.
It's a very popular deck, and the requests are valid, so here it is.
So you'll go ahead and open with a Steam Vince, tap it, and do sleight of hands. And of course, it's not going to show us what you got, but because this is a replay. Seachrome Coast for his opponent. Misty Rainforest, sack. Another Steam Vince. And out comes Spellskite.
That's a pretty good card. I teched that in for specific removal in response to me targeting with Splinter Twin, just so everybody knows.
So another Seachrome Coast. And out comes Silvergill Adept. So this is going to be a Merfolk deck. Which Corey said right off the bat, like the deck doesn't have really anything to counter Splinter Twin, because Splinter Twin has multiple win cons and none of them really require beating face. Well, until the very end, of course.
It's a simple deck to play for sure. One condition: win.
Right. And remember, you had the win con in your hand, right?
Yep.
So in his opening hand, he had the win con, and then later on, he actually draws the second win con. So this was an amazing game. So another Silvergill.
But he revealed he had a Coral Helm, so...
Oh yeah, so here's the commander. This is kind of one of the win cons. They play, you know, master their Pearl Trident, and out comes the Pestermite. So at this point, like, he went for the fastest win con. So he had Deceiver Exarch, but he put out Splinter or Pestermite first because it's faster. And then
less tokens. I didn't want to have to waste 50 times to do one, you know.
So he'll come out, he'll go ahead and tap a permanent, and that will be his Silvergill Adept. Scalding Tarn, sack it. And now he actually didn't have Splinter Twin until this draw, so we were talking about it, and like, you know, he could play Kiki Jiki, but he didn't want to play Kiki Jiki, so he actually drew Splinter Twin to be able to play it for this right here, which was pretty sweet. So even if you know, of course, at main board, this guy has nothing to remove Pestermite or stop this combo. In his sideboard, he'll have like Dismember and things like that. Here he has Path to Exile in his main board, but he's mana's tapped out, so he can't stop this.
And even if he did, I still have Spellskite to remove it anyways. So
there just comes a lot of tokens, and he'll just generate, you know, a little bit of excess. So even if there was a way to stop this from happening, he had Kiki Jiki and Deceiver Exarch in hand, so... And he'll swing face. What's the thing you always say?
To the who's!
And he'll be at -6, and it will end on turn 4, which Splinter Twin, if you don't already know, it consistently wins on turn 4. And if they have a way to counter it, or something like that, turn 5. So let's go on to game 2. Okay, so we're on to game 2, and talk a little bit about your sideboard and what you have brought in against this guy.
Well, I brought in 2 Fire Spouts for his ground beats. Just 3 damage to each creature without flying when red mana is spent. And I brought in a Spells Pierce, and I took out 3 Dispel basically, because I have the Spells Kites in the board or in the main deck. I didn't really need them, but the Spell Pierce might have been helpful too as well, because I could counter a creature in case I stalled out on my combo. And obviously, this Fire Spout is just self-explanatory. It just wins games.
And so what could he possibly bring in his sideboard to stop this? I mean, he's got 3 Path to Exiles in his main board. Typically, and we're just based this off of net decks and tournament results and stuff, so we don't know exactly what is in his sideboard, but it's a pretty sure bet, you know.
Well, as we discussed after the game, we discussed possible sideboard options he could have had, and even during the match, we talked about it too. He could have had a number of cards that would have effectively stalled me out or time walked him for quite a few turns. One would have been the bounce card, any bounce cards, in response to me targeting my own guy. It could also
Orb.
Torpor Orb, yes, very very effective card as well. Pithing Needle is a very good card against my deck. But then again, I hadn't seen too many Pithing Needles, and if he had Pithing Needle, he has to name one of cards. I have one of the cards I have, which is the Zebra Exarch, or Pestermite, or Kiki Jiki, but you can't name all three.
Right. Unless you have multiple Pithing Needles, which they had 2 sideboard, so the likeliness of stopping your entire combo is unlikely. And of course, everybody plays Dismember in there, so that's always good against Splinter Twin, but you got to draw those cards. And some of the things that I find that's bad about these decks, no matter what you're playing, if you like Merfolk, play Merfolk, but you really need to tool your sideboard. If your sideboard isn't changing constantly, I think you're doing something wrong. I think you have to look at the current meta, what decks you're going to play. Like now, Affinity is going to be a top tier deck again. Always has been. And Storm's going to be obsolete because of the ban of Seething Song, and Bant won't skip a beat. They're going to put Master of the Fells out. So, and what other decks are we seeing now? Lifelink is going to come back.
Yeah, mono white lifelink is going to make a huge resurgence into the format, because a lot of the decks that were beating it like too fast and keeping its life low are decks now that are gone. Like the Storm deck, which would go off on turn 2 or 3, and life just couldn't keep up with it because they could infinitely combo and just win on turn 3, especially with Electromancer.
Right. So he's going to bring out a Merfolk as long as you control planes. Merfolk has First Strike and Lifelink. And on Corey's side, Arid Mesa, Steam Vents. He'll play a Plains now and swing in with his Merfolk guy.
Now, I decided to take the 2 damage on the Steam Vents there because I had Is It Charm in hand. Should he have cast something that I wanted to kill at that point, I had that option, or a counter spell. And it turns out that I wanted to kill. But I decided not to use my Is It Charm in that respect because I needed to save that for a counter. I had a Fire Spout in hand as well. So he played that. I made him think I had something else to kill it, so he played a card lesser, so I didn't use the card that I was planning on using.
So we were looking at the commander here, and we were looking at he was going to possibly be a 4/4 by next turn, so by leveling up. So,
and I had thought about it, which is why you saw me tap.
So Misty Rainforest, another island, and out will come Fire Spout, which deals 3 damage to each creature without flying. And if red was spent to cast Fire Spout, and 3 damage to each creature with flying. So, but he's not. He's just killing the ground guys. So, out comes a Glacial Fortress, and he'll put another Merfolk guy back out. First Strike and Lifelink. And really, the Lifelink would be relevant in any deck except for a combo deck like Splinter Twin and things like that, where it really doesn't matter how much life you have. That just makes him have to generate a few more tokens. So Lord of Atlantis is a good card. It's got some nice beats to it. Other Merfolk creatures get 1/1, have Island Walk. And it's so funny, like Pearl of the Master of the Pearl Trident, like it's so funny that people they're like, that's Lord of Atlantis. So he's got 2 cards basically to do the same thing from different generations.
Yep. They're identical, actually.
But that just lets him play 8 of them, right?
Yeah, which is kind of broken, really.
Yeah. Grim Lavamancer, and talk a little bit why you chose to pull Grim out first.
Well, I pulled Grim out first for a couple reasons. One, I had to get him off of the Summoning Sickness if I had to get a later game going. I was at 11 life. I had to take 2. I had a Pestermite in hand that I could cast during his attack phase, but if he had a removal at that point, I couldn't save it. So I needed to have a second answer for something on the board, and I had obviously in my graveyard numerous cards already available to start clearing his board.
So you had a Splinter Twin in hand and the combo basically. Yeah.
Yes.
So he'll put out Celestial Colonnade. Hadn't really seen that used much in Merfolks, but I guess it's pretty good. You know, when it comes out, 4/4 white and blue elemental creature with flying and vigilance, it's still a land. So I've seen that a lot in the red, white, blue decks, not so much in the Merfolk decks. And then out comes Master of the Pull Trident. We were just talking about that. So really exactly the same. Both have Island Walk.
Which completely negated my plan with the Grim Lavamancer, by the way, because then they're all 3/3s, and now I can't kill anything. But on the off chance he didn't play one, it would have been an effective play. So, obviously, I went with what I already knew I had, and that would be Pestermite. So
yeah, and he had 2 cards in hand before the Master of the Pearl Trident, so we were really trying to figure out what he had in his hand. So now he's got 1 card. So really the only thing that can stop you now is an Echoing Truth.
Yeah, yep.
So Pestermite comes out. We'll tap his Merfolk guy here.
If he had something to remove it, I mean, in all honesty, now would be the best time because he would know if I play a land next turn, I possibly have a Dispel in hand to counter his removal. But he didn't, so I knew I was safe.
Yeah, and at this point, like you said, the only thing that can stop it after, well, Echoing Truth, but he's got 2 lands open, so right there he could have, before Splinter Twin resolved, he could have pathed it maybe, but the combo starts, and it goes off, and there's nothing you can do about it at this point.
Well, it's like I told you, if I play a land on the next turn, I have access to Dispel, widely played card in my deck to prevent things like Path to Exile, Echoing Truth, Void to Nowhere, just any kind of bounce spell. And if he was going to play it and he's a good player, then he would have played it on when I was tapped out because he could have removed my spell. Now, he could try to go for a 2-for-1. I just end up winning anyways. And that would be just the least productive play.
And attack is imminent. What do you say?
To the Who's!
So the game will end on turn 5, so 1 turn a little slower. You were playing a little cautious there, and it still came out the same thing. So you had it on turn 4 if you decided to go for it, and we played cautious, and it still paid off. So
it's definitely yeah. I believe that in order to be successful in online Magic playing, because you can't see your opponent, you can't read him, you can't see his body language. You have to play with the odds. You have to look at the cards that he could possibly play. If you don't play that way, you're going to walk into what they call a trap every time. And, it's like Occam's razor. The simplest answer tends to be the truth, which means he probably has it. It's just possible. So you play around the possible so that you can win.
Right. So, once again, I'd like to thank you for doing this game and joining us, Corey.
You're welcome, and thanks for everybody at YouTube for watching this video.
All right. So, comment, like, and subscribe, guys. We'll catch you later. Bye.